Hello, beautiful awakened souls, and welcome to another episode of the Awakened Souls podcast. I am your host, Devin Brown, Kundalini activator, spiritual guide, and hopefully just a good source of entertainment. Holy cow. Lionsgate portal, the energies were intense. And we talked about that last episode. And I was going to take the time to go ahead and speak on my quantum circle and all that stuff. But I feel like we're going to hold off on that because it is coming out. And I'll give a little bit of information at the end of this episode. But there is a lot that needed to come up as the energy line solidified and as you got into your own space, into your own security, into your own situation of peace, essentially. And an example of this, I was driving down the road and I just was feeling frustrated, not specifically at anything particular. There wasn't any circumstance or any situation, but I started thinking about letting ourselves really feel what we want to feel. And I started thinking about what things I have not allowed myself to feel over the years. And for me, one of the feelings that I always had a lot of hard times dealing with was anger. I would let myself be angry every once in a while at certain people or certain circumstances because I felt justly so. But even then it would be so raging hot that it would be hard to control. But that was very few and far between when it came to the people in my everyday life and the people that I had contact with on a daily basis. It was, always one of those things. I would feel angry and then feel guilty for feeling angry and then going back into, well, I need to forgive, or I need to be the bigger person, or I was the one in the wrong, and just kind of like going through and making excuses for why I wasn't allowed to feel the way that I felt. And as I'm driving down the road, something just said, what are some emotions that you never let yourself feel or do? And part of that, I mean, I own my own business. I have always been in management positions. I have children with special needs. I've always had to taper down my frustrations and sometimes just disassociate from my emotions because I needed to like make sure I stayed calm and cool while they were having complete meltdowns, like so that my frustration didn't make their frustration worse. And I just realized like I never allowed myself to scream ever. Even when there were abusive circumstances going on in my home, even when childhood, I'm witnessing things like the one time I did scream, my life was then put in the eyes of a child in jeopardy. And so I never allowed myself to rage. And this is one of those things, like we talk to people, move your body, yell into a pillow, box, like hit a punching bag, all this stuff. And I always like move my body. I love going to the gym. I love working out. I love doing all those things. But one of the things I've never done is rage. And when I say rage, I mean just do a primal yelling roar where I just let it out and just blah. And my highest self was like, well, why don't you do it now? Mind you, I'm in the car, in my truck, completely alone, driving down the street. I'm in a country road. There's no one around, no one in front of me, no one behind me. And I was like, I can't do that. And my highest self was like, well, why not? And I was like, well, I'm embarrassed. And it was like, but why are you embarrassed? It's literally just you. Will this be healing for you? And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? There's probably some parts of that little girl in here that's ready to come out in a different way that was never allowed to get angry. And so I took a huge breath and I just screamed at the top of my lungs in my car going down the street. And when I was done, I heard do it again. And I did it again. And as I began to do this, I had this crazy emotional release where I got tears in my eyes and I felt certain parts of my chakra that have already been lit up, that have already been aligned, just bloop, like glowed extra strong. And 2 days later, I get a text message from one of my clients who is part of my quantum circle, who said, today I've just felt the primal need to scream, and all I want to do is scream, but I feel like that's not acceptable. And I laughed because it's so funny how as a collective, as we're growing and as we're healing, we're all in alignment in a way. And one of the things I did in my healing when I was leaving conditioned patterns and leaving relationships that no longer served me, and recognizing what abuse actually was, and recognizing what things that weren't necessarily abuse but were toxic dynamics were in my life, I filled a journal with a bunch of FUs, like literally FU, and named the situation, named the person, named like all of these, and let myself get angry for the first time about certain things I never let myself get angry for. And I'm not saying I never lost my temper, not by a long shot. My kids can attest that I have definitely raised my voice at them occasionally. But always with super apologetic after, and always took responsibility. I'm talking about when I was a little child that couldn't protect myself. I wasn't allowed to get angry. I wasn't allowed to show emotion in the way that is healthy. I wasn't allowed to be an independent person. I wasn't allowed to have an opinion that was different or unacceptable in the eyes of certain parental figures and authority figures in my life. And I allowed myself that primal roar. And God, it was so healing. I went so loud that I did lose my voice a little bit. But it was one of those things that I realized sometimes we hold ourselves back when we're just embarrassed of ourselves. I literally was in the car on a country road, no one around. My windows are up. I have music playing. No one is even going to hear me scream, which that sounds like a horror movie, pretty much waiting to happen. But truly, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we hold ourselves back? And part of this is our journey. Part of this is what we need to learn not to do. Part of this is what we need to learn to let go of and to free ourselves from. This is why we signed up. And one of the things I recognize is I'm done holding on to anger. I look back at relationships that I cultured and dynamics that I cultured, and I have a little bit of disgust for the way that I let myself be used, for the way that I used other people, for the way that I manipulated in order to feel safe, for the way that I just felt zero value apart from how my life was played into the other people around me. And I look back and I say that person is no longer in existence. Like truly, that person no longer exists. So what is it that I am allowing in my life that I don't want there anymore? And it was the anger. It was the frustration. It was the disgust. It was all of these things, because I can look back now with so much grace on the person that I was even a year ago, even like 2 weeks ago, because the energies have been shifting so much. Like we get to quantum leap whenever we're ready to quantum leap. We get to heal whenever we are ready to heal. We get to change whenever we're ready to change. And that doesn't mean that it has to take years or decades or anything like that. Like you can wake up tomorrow and decide you're no longer going to give into those lower vibration emotions. You can wake up tomorrow and decide that you're no longer going to let that be your focus and let that be where you put your mind at. And I think we have this idea, well, to get fit, we have to work out and we have to do this and we have to do that. And what if you take a different approach with your spiritual growth? Instead of saying, well, in order to be the best version of me, I have to do X, Y, and Z. And to a point, yes, you do. 100%. There is work that has to be done. But follow your heart. Listen to yourself. Follow the shame. Why is it that you're afraid to do a certain thing? Why is it that you're afraid to feel a certain thing? Like, I think looking back, it wasn't necessarily that I was embarrassed to scream in a car by myself where no one was around. It was that the little girl inside of me was still a little bit afraid of letting herself be heard, because it backfired on me before. And one of the things I recognized, like, my kids are the ones that I have lost my temper on, like where I might raise my voice or just like act in a way that I wish I could make sure that they never saw, you know what I mean? But it's also because I know that I have unconditional love for them and they have unconditional love for me, and that I can have days that are bad and I can have days that are not good, and I can take responsibility and make sure they understand it's not them, and that I can show them how to be better than me. And it's in those moments, it's in that time frame, it's in those situations where we need to do that for ourselves. We need to say, it's okay. You can have unconditional love from yourself. Like, Devin, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter what mistakes you make, you are still amazing. You are still a being of light. You still want and desire peace. You wish harm on no one. You're coming from a place of purity, even if not perfection. And I mean, I talked about this in a couple episodes. I'm pretty sure Jesus, when he made his whip and beat people out of the temple, was looked at pretty harshly. But he was being true to himself. He was being true to who he was. And it's not saying you're not allowed to lose your emotions. That's not what I'm saying at all. That's not the point of this episode. The point of this episode is to allow yourself the emotional safety and the emotional security to be who you need to be in every step of the way, in every direction, in everywhere you go. Everything that you think, everything that you say, all of those things. And just allow yourself the chance to be free, essentially. So that's what I wanted to share. That being said, I did open a couple different tiers in the Kundalini Rising program. There is a link in this episode. Also, if you go to the main page, it's there on my page as my website for the patreon.com/Kundalini Rising. That's an A instead of a I at the end. And I am asking for sponsorships for this podcast. If you listen, if you like it, I'm able to keep it ad-free right now because I am doing it it's a passion project, and I'm looking for sponsors for $3 a month. You can help sponsor me to keep it ad-free, to keep it where you're not getting things broken up and get broken into every 5 minutes, because honestly, I cannot stand episodes like that. Even it makes me stop listening to people, if I'm being quite frank. So if you love it and you want to support, that's a way you can show your support. I do have my Quantum Circle is now a lower price. It's at $39 a month. That gives you a tarot reading, collective tarot reading. And this is an intuitive tarot reading, meaning when I look at tarot cards, the ones that I'm supposed to pull begin to glow white. And they glow white in certain orders. And then ones that are supposed to be read maybe the next time or given last are white, but they have almost like a heartbeat, like it's meant for somebody that's coming. And I always do tell people this is not for anybody currently listening. Maybe you've fallen onto this video a little bit later. But we read for the week and we give you a focus for the week with these tarot reading cards. We get energy updates throughout the month. We do a quantum circle healing, which gives you an energy healing for going into the next month on the 21st. That's released along with on the 21st. We're going to be doing a big energy update for like what we're looking for in September. And then on September 21st, we look at what's coming for October, but you get little snippets in between of energy updates. So if you are interested, those are all on my website, patreon.com. The Kundalini Activation Program will be coming out this fall. So there are going to be 12 MP3s, 12 meditations. They're about 20 minutes long each. With those come journal prompts for you on a weekly basis. It's something for you to focus on for the month. collectively. Like if you do the 12 different MP3s, this is a year-long program. I do encourage people who are at the beginning of this journey, take a month for each MP3, listen to it at least once a week, preferably 3 to 4 times, if not every single night. It's something you can fall asleep to. It's something that you can put on in the background. It's something that you just want to give your focus. It's 20 minutes a week, guys. Like this will be what helps you gain your Kundalini activation along with the spiritual practices that are put in place with each MP3. This 12 program kit is going to be able to, the whole kit's going to be able to be purchased for $333. If you feel like you need a little extra support, I am going to have a monthly tier, which gives you access to everything. And the journal prompts and things are released on like a monthly basis. However, you also are actively able to join the Quantum Circle and a social media group page with anybody else who is also doing this program. You guys can bounce ideas back and forth on each other, talk about your experiences, talk about maybe things you've read in the book, things that are helping you as you journal. It does also give you access to the Billionaire Mindset MP3 that's going on as well. So that's pretty much what we have going on and what's going to be launching coming up. If you guys have any questions, by all means, feel free to comment and I will try and get back to you when I can. But yeah, this the Lionsgate portal was pretty huge. It was pretty strong, and I'm honestly just excited for the future. I'm excited for where the energies are headed. I'm excited to watch everything continue to transfold and transform, because I know for myself, I feel a difference, a very tangible difference. Detoxed a little bit as well. It's funny because when the portal began to close, I just it was actually when Venus was starting its new cycle, which I can't even remember what it's called, but Venus goes into every 26 years, I think it is, begins this new cycle around the sun. And we began that on Saturday, I believe it was. Don't quote me on that, because I think I might be getting the Saturday or Sunday. And I definitely felt myself detoxing a little bit as we were moving into a different realm of things in that way. But here we are. We're good. We're ready. We're happy. We're at peace. And as always, I wish you guys a very happy week, and I will talk to you later.